Hi, and welcome to What's the Tea in L&E. I'm Leah.
I'm Emily.
And we are management side employment attorneys with Woods Rogers. Emily, what are we talking about today?
We're talking about the fact that you might have to accommodate an employee before they even get to work.
Wait, what? What do you mean? It's your job to get to work. We should only have to accommodate an employee once they get to work. You come to work and then we'll consider accommodations.
I see where you're coming from with that, but a recent case by the EEOC, they had a kind of different stance on it. So there was an employee who had a disability. She had a neuropathy issue. It made her hands really painful. And she was a sales associate who did a lot of driving. And her sales territory required her to drive for like 66 miles every day, and she had a lot of pain with that. So what happened? Do you know what happened after that?
Yeah, so she ultimately requested to move to a closer sales location or sales region. And in fact, while she had expressed that her hands were in pain, the two closer regions came available. Is that right?
I think several regions became available, and she kept requesting to be assigned to one of them so she didn't have to drive as much, and the company didn't do anything. So eventually she quit because she said she was in too much pain to keep going. And the EEOC has brought a case against her employer for failure to reasonably accommodate a known disability.
And that's that's interesting, right? Because we're not saying her whole job was to get to a particular region, potentially, 60 miles away, and then start making sales. So there's also this commute aspect to it too. And she's got to drive to get to her region, and then potentially even drive during her region. And so the EEOC's position is you may, as an employer, have to consider a reasonable accommodation if an employee's disability impacts their ability to get to the job site. So if I, for instance, am diagnosed with epilepsy and I can no longer drive and cannot get to work, is it reasonable for my employer to consider a work from home situation, right?
Absolutely. The other question that's been coming up as companies are calling their workers back into the office, it's been in the news a lot recently, is do you have to pay an employee for their commute time?
This is a good one because, as you mentioned, many employees moved farther and farther away from their offices during COVID, and they're now being called back in. The general premise is that no, you do not have to compensate an employee for the employee's commute time from their house to their home or to their first job site of the day. However, if you send an employee outside of the normal reasonable commute time for a particular special project or a training, then you may have to consider compensating them for the difference between the added time and their reasonable commute time.
Absolutely. If you're experiencing an issue with an employee and an accommodation regarding their disability and commute time, please reach out. But until next time, this is What's the Tea in L&E.